As the cosmic Christ, I stand with my consciousness fully arrayed in the earth. For this light, the light that I am able to draw forth in my office, is the reinforcement that each son and daughter of God require. It is not through any one ascended or cosmic being that you gain your victory in the Ascension. It is through the office of your own Christhood. For within that Christhood is the attainment to master all that you are required, to galvanize the blue flame of the will of God into your life, exercising the power and the strength to stay the course. It is the blue flame that allows you to connect with the divine plan of your life stream as the will of God. When the love of the pink ray of God's outpouring of compassion, of the action of God's desiring, is fully rayed within your own consciousness, you have a greater desire for all that is good, all that is holy, all that is sacred, governing the wise use of every ray of God consciousness that you must participate in calling forth and utilizing wisely, is the illumination of the second ray. For in its golden, pure illumination is the fabric of the mind of God, streaming forth as consciousness of the Christ. When all three of these are at play, you are keenly aware of the mandate of your own vehicles of consciousness to be held in purity, and the white light of the mother flame courses up through your vehicles, knitting together each of these planes of consciousness, heretofore only referred to as spiritual beings of your own identity. But you know them well as those vehicles of consciousness held in the embrace by one heart, the heart of your own God presence. the white light of purity, as the mother light, is the foundation that allows each of these aforementioned attainments to begin to build upon the Christhood that weaves together a garment of light that does not merely fashion an outer garment, but through and through each of your vehicles is a greater understanding of who you are, of how you are to perform your day-to-day life. As this begins to take shape within your conscious awareness, as virtue, you begin to understand how there is the necessity of the law to draw forth cosmic light for divine purpose, multiplying, expanding, fashioning and forming more of God's nature as part of your training and part of the mastery required for your victory in the Ascension. This requires the drawing forth of the emerald ray. Over time, many of you have had some understanding of the emerald ray and its divine purpose. Throughout this cycle, according to the ability of the sons and daughters of God to begin to grasp the greater science of the emerald ray, we have imparted to you instruction that would allow you to go beyond relegating the action of the emerald ray to great cosmic beings of light, and hold fast to that emerald ray of your own God presence, that you may command. Certainly it does seem to be a timely nature for this to occur. But in the fulfillment of cycles, it is presented to you on point with the unfolding of this teaching in divine order. One could say that the foreshadowing of the earth's circumstance was known before its coming. One could say that it provides for the laboratory of your scientific experiments. But whatever the cycle, either for your own personal life or for the life of every son and daughter of God, both incarnate in the earth, in this very hour, and those in between embodiments. The requirement of the law is that you become more of the Christ that you are, allowing that pure nature to step forth, not parading the human ego, not giving sway to preconceived ideas that are sure they are right, all the while very wrong. Not allowing the chaos of an emotional body to take any control over the charting of the energy that passes through it, save that which is directed by the mind of God. And you, as this outer vehicle, fixed within the physical body for a time, are ready to perform the alchemy of setting in motion the emerald ray into each of these bodies, so that you might have a greater absorption of the light of your own God presence, that every identifying pattern of the Christic fire to be lowered into these vehicles, fashioned and formed out of the elemental forces of nature, to prepare a body temple for the Most High. These bodies will allow for the light of God to take its rightful dominion. Then, as you are performing your perfect works, you will see where the light of God must be multiplied, and you will call forth that light, and you will accompany that light with a call to the emerald ray, and you will have built enough momentum on that ray of God perfection that it will, on the instant, be released by your own God presence, by the command of the necessity of the law, and it will be fulfilled. You will find that it will not be as though you are performing an activity of wishing, as though you were to wish upon a star for some grand encounter in your life. You will be performing a specific scientific act of the spiritual dimensions to galvanize the perfection of the mind of God, and allowing for the cyclopean action of your third eye to have the vision to behold, that vision that every Christ must master, that vision that always precedes any divine plan when it is brought into the fullness of the array of the light of the Christ. As you begin to study, putting your attention upon the high ideals of the Christ consciousness, keeping the focus of your attention upon that Christ and allowing for the release of the light of the emerald ray as a needle ray action, most precise, exacting, and determined to enter into those areas of your own life that require change, that require you to put on more of the garment of right thinking, right action, and right Christ light consciousness. Then, blessed hearts, you will understand how grand and glorious is the opportunity of embodiment. Perhaps you have thought that all who petition the Manus are given the opportunity to incarnate, putting on the bodies just as you have. Perhaps you have thought that it goes without saying that every I Am Presence desires to incarnate. But this is not the case on either. Many times, there is not enough momentum built on the rays of attainment of each of the bands of the causal body of God quality that are ready for the I Am Presence to send forth its heart flame into the physical octave. So greater time is requested by that Manu until the preparation of the framework of the causal body is prepared. Likewise, many I Am Presence elect to stay in the realms of perfection, serving and performing the light and the God consciousness where they are, never moving from those areas of service that they initially stepped forth to proclaim. I give you this example so that you will have a greater understanding that you are not bereft of attainment when you come into your very first incarnation. You have already an understanding of each of the God qualities and how they work. If it was not so, the Manu would not sponsor your incarnation. Why is this important for you to know? It is so that you will have a greater appreciation for what is available to you to call forth. What is missing from the attainment of an I Am presence before incarnation is how to work with the elemental forces of nature, how to command those great elements of God's pranic breaths in each of their dimensions to fashion, to create, to mold and shape, to fire, to move, to breathe the pulsation of the heartbeat of God through form and formlessness. This is why you came into embodiment. All of the sidereal events of your many incarnations have confused and confounded your mind, and it has been silted over by the veils of Maya and illusion. The heart has always remained perfect, the same heart as the very first incarnation, always there as a repository to receive each day the offering of your God presence, to keep your vehicles of consciousness knitted together, fed, charged with light, vibrant. What remains is, will these bodies be responsive to that heart? Or will there be another round of many incarnations, tearing down the barriers to the open door of the Christ consciousness? When you step forth from within the realm of purity of the Christ consciousness, there is activated a glorious chord of the rays of each of the God qualities that you have attained within your own causal body. Those rays go forth to nurture every part of your life, holding them in the golden white orb of the Christic fire, as the emerald ray is drawn forth to multiply it, to draw into its very core the divine qualities, every detail required for it to come into manifestation. Most assuredly it is fed by the threefold flame of the heart, by the purity of the mother light, of the white light of perfection. It is held inviolate in the mind of God, as the vision of God projects it upon the screen of life into the universal sea of the glorious, teeming radiance of the body consciousness of all of the qualities of God, waiting to be elicited by that form, by that action, by that dimension of scientific ray of God consciousness, and lowering it into the realm in which it has been called forth. Every ascended and cosmic being understands and has mastered this activity of the light. They know well how to create worlds. All that stands between the creation of a flower and the fashioning of a world is the magnitude of momentum of one's attainment. Perhaps you do not consider that you have any momentum garnered for such a task. But can you say that you have stood in the Holy of Holies with the raying of your own Christ consciousness, performing an activity of the God qualities? Some of you, perhaps, have been shown just such an occasion, but found it most difficult to return to that same exact replica. Could it be that in the grace of God you were shown how you may perform that work, how you may stand in that light, how you are the Christ consciousness? But you, holding fast to that awareness, must determine what in your outer vehicles, as well as the subplanes of consciousness that make up your body temple, are out of alignment with that activity and what is required of you to bring it forth once more. Having experienced once, you know that it can come again. You have been given through these teachings the disciplines of the law required to hold fast to that light which you call forth daily. You have learned further attention that is required to those affairs of your life that you cannot, with impunity, continue to allow to go on if you desire to have that experience. You have been present within the light and the consciousness, pressed upon each of your vehicles of consciousness, tangibly stirring the cells of your physical body, charging your emotional body, firing your mental body, and bathing you in its effulgent light of perfection from the ascended masters. And so you have a co-measurement of what it means to be in this light, most physically active all around you, changing the very sluggish, recalcitrant energy into a greater acceleration and vibration. And by this example of the relentless light, for this past cycle, you will step forth into the new day, a new person, a personification of your Holy Christ self, in varying degrees determined by your application of the law. Constancy as the virtue of the Christ will bear good fruit as the God qualities will continue to build and build and build. And then one day, perhaps when you least expect it, you will step forth, emerging from the white light of purity, of the office of the Holy Christ presence. And you will see the rays commanding the affairs of your life. Most times it will be effortless. The greatest effort will be to hold fast to the core of one's identity in that glorious activity of light, so that you might, with the presence of the mind of the Christ, be tethered to your responsibilities, be tethered to the affairs of your life, all the while drawing forth the light of God into them. I, Maitreya, as the cosmic Christ, send you forth to continue your work in the light, not allowing for one moment to be lost in gaining mastery and attainment, of having an awareness and co-measurement of when you are on the edge of a precipice and must realign your focus into the light of the Christ. The training is ongoing under the ruby ray action of my heart. Avail yourself of that instruction and of our great outpouring for your highest and best use of the light of the Christ.